Okay, Algebra 1, we are doing the last section in this packet. It is percent increase or decrease. So people also call this percent of change. There's a fairly simple equation we can use for this. So I'm going to write that up here. Percent of change can be found by taking the amount of change divided by the original number, and then to get it to a percent, you have to multiply it by 100. Okay, so if we went from 25 to 49, to find the amount of change, you can subtract the two numbers. The original is always your first number, so that's the original number. So this would be 24 divided by 25, and then times 100. So 24 divided by 25 times 100 is going to give you 96%. And then they want to know if it's an increase or decrease. Well, it went from 25 to 49, so it increased. Okay. The next one, it went from 50 to 45, so it changed 5. The original was 50, times it by 100. 5 divided by 50 times by 100 is 10. So it was a 10%, and did it go up or down? It went down, so it's a decrease. The next one, it went from 200 to 110, so that's a change of 90. Change of 90 compared to the original, which was 200. 90 divided by 200 is 0.45 times 100 would just give us 45%. It went from 200 to 110, so that was also a decrease. 25 to 30, it just changed 5 over the original, which was 25, times 100. So 5 divided by 25 is 0.2. 0.2 times 100 would be 20%, and it was an increase. The next one, 80 to 115, would be a change of 35 divided by the original, which is 80. 35 divided by 80 gives me kind of a bigger decimal here, times 100. I'd move that over 2 places, 43.75%, and it went from 80 to 115, so that's an increase. Okay. So finding the result of a percent or percent increase or decrease. So it says find the result when 30 is increased by 20%. So there's a couple different ways to do this. The first way is that you can just find 20% of 30. So 20% of 30. Okay, you can set this up as a proportion if you'd like, or you just do 0.2 times 30. So if I were to do this, 0.2 times 30, I get 6. So it increases by 6. So you would take 30 plus 6, and you get 36. The other way to think about it is that your percent is increasing. So it was 100%. Now it increases to 20%. So really, it's 120%. So if I did 120 over 100, and then I'd put the original on the bottom, and you want to know the new number, you do 30 times 120 and divide it by 100, and you would get 36. So there's 2 different ways to do that. Just depends whatever makes more sense to you. So I'll do this one the other way. So this one, I'll do it the first way, I should say. So I'm going to find out what is 80% of 65, and I'm going to do 0.8 times 65. You get 52. So we had 65, and we're going to decrease it by 80%. So I'm going to decrease it by 52. So 65 minus 52 gives us 13. Okay. if we're gonna do it like I kind of did the first time with the percentage, if this is 100%, this was our original number, if I'm gonna increase it by 25%, I'd add that on there. So I wanna know what is 125% of the original number, which was 72. So 72 times 125 divided by 100 gives you 90. I like this way because it's pretty straightforward on how to add percents. So like on this one, I'm gonna decrease. So this was 100%, that was the original number, decrease by 40, that would give us 60% of the original, which is 10. You wanna know what X is. So 60 times 10 divided by 100, you might even notice it's gonna be 6. Okay, so those are just how to do just like basically math examples, and then we're gonna do some real life examples. And like I said, there's a couple different ways to do these, so your way might be different than my way. Admission to the museum is $8. Students receive a 15% discount. How much is the discount? How much do students pay? So we need to figure out what is 15% of 8 first. The original is 8. So 15 times 8 divided by 100, you can do 1.2. So the discount is $1.20. Okay, how much do students have to pay then? Well, you take your $8, you minus 120, and you get $6.80. So on this one, we had to find the discount in order to answer the question. The next one, it says, Crystal used a coupon and paid $7.35 for a pizza that normally cost $10.50. Find the percent discount. So one way to think about this is that there was a change. So how do you find the amount of, or the percent of change? Well, it was $10.50. It changed to $7.35. Oops. What was the original cost? Well, it was originally $10.50. So let's do this. 10.5 minus 7.35, and I get 315 divided by 1050. You always have to compare to the original, and you get 0.3 times 100. That's how we're going to change it to the percent. So it's a 30%. So from the 1050, the original cost, to the discounted price, the discount was 30%. This one, it says a bicycle, $220 bicycle was on sale for 60% off. So if it was 60% off, what did you end up paying? You ended up paying 40%. The other way to think about this, you could find 60% of this and then subtract it. It depends on how you guys want to do it. I'm going to do it the other way. So this was the original. This was the 100%. So I know that I'm going to have to pay 40% because it was 60% off. But I want to know what is that. So 40 times 220 divided by 100, that means that they only had to pay $88 for that bike. Okay, so like I said, there are lots of different ways to do those. I'm just trying to show you a variety so you can figure those out. So a couple different, a markup is the percent of wholesale cost, and a final price is the wholesale cost plus the markup, whereas the discount was the opposite. Caleb buys necklaces at a wholesale cost of $48 each. Okay, and that's the original. He marks them up by 75% and sells the necklaces. What is the amount of the markup? Well, I need to figure out what is 75% of the original, which is 48. You could set that up as a proportion if you'd like. I get 36. So this is the markup. Okay, so then that means that they took the original, which was $48, and they added the 36, that was the markup to it, to give you a new price of 84. So that means that they sold those necklaces for 84%, or $84, sorry. And actually, most of the time, you might think that that's a big markup. Most of the time, they mark things up like 200%, 100% at least. Lars purchased a daily planner for $32. The wholesale cost was $25. What was the percent markup? Well, one way we can think about this, I like proportions for some of these problems. The wholesale is our original, so that's going to go on the bottom. What he paid was 32%. So let's look at what this gives us. 32 times 100 divided by 25. So I get 128. Check that again just to be sure. Yep. Okay. So if the original, the wholesale cost was 100 and that was 25, when we brought it up, how much over 100 was it? It was 28% over 100. So that was the markup. The other way to think about this is think of it as a amount of change problem. So 32 minus 25 over the original, which is 25. So 32 minus 25 is 7. 7 divided by 25 is 0.28, and then as a percent, that's 28%. So like I said, there's more than one way to do these problems. Whatever helps you think of it more clearly. What is the percent markup on a car selling for $21,850 and had a wholesale cost of this? So I like to think of these again as a percent of change problem. Okay, so we have to subtract the two numbers. Oh, what am I doing here? There, we can leave it like that. So 21850 minus 9,500. We get that on the top. And then the 9,500 is on the bottom. That, even though it wasn't the original, the selling price, it was the wholesale. Wholesale's always the original. And so the percent markup is 130%. I changed this. This was actually 1.3, and then I took it times 100, just so you know where I get the 130 from. Okay, so that was the percent markup of the car. These apply to real life, can be kind of confusing, multiple ways to do it. That's why we just takes a bunch of practice.